Scientists have been attempting to raise awareness about climate change for decades, and one of the most significant challenges they face is convincing Christians to take the issue seriously. Unfortunately, some individuals have spread misconceptions that scientists are trying to manipulate Christians about climate change. However, the reality is that scientists are simply trying to communicate the facts and consequences of climate change to all people, regardless of their religious affiliations. One way scientists are trying to engage with Christians is by highlighting the moral and ethical implications of climate change. Many Christians believe in the concept of stewardship, which is the idea that humans have a responsibility to care for and protect the earth. Scientists are pointing out that climate change is a threat to God's creation and that it is our moral obligation to mitigate its effects. By framing climate change as a moral issue, scientists hope to appeal to Christian sense of values and responsibilities. Another approach scientists are taking is to emphasize the scientific consensus on climate change. Some Christians may be skeptical of climate change due to misinformation or a lack of understanding of the science. Scientists are trying to educate Christians about the overwhelming evidence that supports the reality of human-caused climate change. They are also highlighting the fact that climate change is not a partisan issue, but rather a scientific one that requires a response based on evidence and fact. Scientists are also partnering with Christian organizations and leaders to raise awareness about climate change. For example, the Evangelical Environmental Network and the Catholic Climate Covenant are two organizations that are working to engage Christians on the issue of climate change. These organizations are using biblical teachings and theological perspectives to frame the issue of climate change and to encourage Christians to take action. By working with Christian organizations, scientists hope to build trust and credibility with Christian communities. Some scientists are also using biblical language and imagery to communicate the urgency of climate change. For example, they may use the concept of the dominion of humans over the earth to emphasize our responsibility to care for the planet. They may also use the story of Noah's Ark to illustrate the consequences of failing to respond to climate change. By using biblical language and imagery, scientists hope to make the issue of climate change more relatable and accessible to Christians. However, despite these efforts, some Christians remain skeptical of scientists and their warnings about climate change. Some may view scientists as elitist or secular and may be suspicious of their motives. Others may be influenced by misinformation or propaganda that casts doubt on the reality of climate change. To overcome these challenges, scientists must continue to engage with Christians in a respectful and empathetic way, listening to their concerns and addressing their questions and fears. In conclusion, scientists are not trying to manipulate Christians about climate change, but rather to engage them in a constructive and respectful dialogue. By highlighting the moral and ethical implications of climate change, emphasizing the scientific consensus, partnering with Christian organizations, and using biblical language and imagery, scientists hope to raise awareness and inspire action on this critical issue. Ultimately, the goal of scientists is not to impose their views on Christians, but to work together to protect the planet and ensure a sustainable future for all. By building bridges of understanding and trust, scientists and Christians can work together to address the urgent challenge of climate change and to create a better world for all.